I'm making this video today because of a day I had yesterday. And so let me ask you, have you ever felt so much anxiety or sadness or hopelessness that you wondered how you were even going to get through the day or maybe the next hour or two? If that's you, I want you to know that I understand completely. I've suffered for anxiety all of my life, or from anxiety all of my life. Even when I was a child, I felt anxiety. No matter what fun thing I was doing, I felt that black cloud over my head that just dampened all the fun that I could have been having. I always thought I had so much to worry about, and at times I had things to worry about, but at times I didn't, but it became a habit. So I'm making this video one day after a brutal day that I had. My beloved dog, Baxter, 19 years old, passed a few weeks ago. And yesterday, I can do this without crying, I received a gift in the mail, and it was a blanket with a picture printed on it, a photograph printed on it of my beloved Baxter and his brother, who had passed 2 years ago. And they are beautifully printed on this blanket. And I cried and I cried and I cried. And shortly after that, I cried because I missed them so much. But shortly after that, I received an email, an unwanted email. I had applied for a position and interviewed for this position that I was absolutely perfect for, stellar for. The interview was awesome. There was a great connection there, and I got an email yesterday that I did not get that job, and it was like so perfect for me. And I started to wonder why. Why did I not get this job? And that's another story I have some ideas about. But one of the ideas I have is that maybe they thought I was too old. Maybe they wanted someone in their 20s and 30s, despite not having the experience, that I have. And so I started feeling old and kind of hopeless. And I started to wonder, where did the last 10 years go? The last 10 years of my life, where did those where did those 10 years go? And from there, I started thinking about my finances and thinking I can't even retire, in the next 2 years. And then from that, I started thinking about this absolutely heartbreaking situation that's been going on for quite a while in my life. And I just became hopeless. I couldn't sleep last night. I woke up at 4. Well, I got up at 4 finally and tried to meditate, and that was not really going all that well. So this morning I thought I have to do something. And so I went and started doing some techniques that I used to do and had kind of gotten away from. And these techniques are for immediate relief. I'm not a therapist. I'm just someone who has suffered with anxiety and depression for many years and found that these are things that help me right now, just to function, to go for a walk or work or do the things that I need to do. And of course then, everything turns around, at some point. You have to do the work, but these are some of the things that, I hope will give you some relief. I know how debilitating it can be when you're in that place and your mind is spinning and things feel hopeless. And, for me, anxiety is a pattern, I think, that started in childhood, where there were so many things to worry about or be fearful, about. And it doesn't really matter how it started, when it started. What matters is, what do we do now? Maybe you have situations in your life that cause you to worry or feel anxiety or hopelessness, and maybe you're looking for something just to help you out right now. I am not a mental health professional at all. I studied, my degree is in psychology, but I'm not a therapist. But I sometimes feel like I should be given a PhD, an honorary PhD in coping, coping with anxiety and depression, or surviving it, I should say, or even sadness. So I hope this, what I have to say might help you. I would start by saying that probably 35 years ago, I read a book called Feeling Good by David Burns. He's a PhD, and I believe he's the founder of what's known as cognitive therapy. This video is not about that. I'm just suggesting that this was a book that was very helpful for me. And oversimplifying it, Burns points out that it's always the thought that precedes the negative feeling. Now, there might be circumstances that are really hurtful or even devastating, but it's still beginning with the thought. So we need to keep that in mind. So it's really, I would add to that negative thoughts create negative circumstances, but that's, for another video. So I also, in addition to reading that book, I began searching for other answers. So I read, and anything that could help relieve suffering. So the other books that I read, not necessarily about anxiety, but that actually helped me in some way, helped me to become hopeful, about life, and just to know that there's more, that is better, that my life can look different. And in many ways it did. Many ways I'm still working on it. But one of those books was A Course in Miracles. There is no author that I can tell you, but it was really a turning point for me, reading that. Also, The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck. I think that was one of the early books I read. Then I read Conversations with God, books 1, 2, and 3 by Neil Donald Walsh. Those were very helpful. Ask and It Is Given by Esther Hicks, and a personality she calls Abraham. I read The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield, and The Way of the Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman, and so many more. So as I was reading these books, I was looking for common denominators. What are the similarities, between these books? And there are really two things. We are the creators of our experiences, whether we know it or not, or how that's happening. If we don't know how that's happening, I've come to understand that we are creating it. It's hard to use our minds in productive ways. Sometimes we get stuck in these, repetitive patterns and ways of thinking, but that is one thing. The other thing is just so basic. It's the negative thought creates the negative feeling, but we're not often aware of those negative thoughts. We're not paying attention, or we don't understand how powerful our thoughts are. So those are two things that I realized. But now I want to give you these 4 techniques that I do and that I did this morning that immediately give me relief. I could write pages and pages and talk for hours and hours about this, but I just want to give you these 4 things. I'm probably not speaking loud enough, and I don't have a microphone on, so I'll speak up. Okay, the first thing that I have learned is something that Rhonda Byrne terms welcoming the negative emotion. So we all know that positive thoughts feel better than negative thoughts, right? So thinking positively is advantageous. But what if it's a persistent negative thought and feeling? Or even if it's not, I often do what Rhonda and these wise people think or say, and that is to welcome it, to allow that emotion, to allow it like you would welcome something wanted or a loved one at your house or something just wonderful. Because what we resist persists. What we push against pushes back at us. So the more we try to push it away, we can push it down for a time, but it keeps coming back. So by welcoming that negative emotion, allowing it, saying it's okay, hi, as silly as that sounds, it seems to neutralize it. It works immediately. You might find that you feel a little bit of an improvement, and that's great. Maybe you can then go take a walk or do something else that you need to do. And if you still feel that negative emotion, come back and do it again and keep welcoming it. Even if it gives you a little bit of relief, and it will, that's better than that, that monkey mind that keeps reliving that negative thing over and over and over again. So, and I want to mention, even if that is guilt and shame, and we all feel, at some point in our life, guilt and shame, we're just kind of raised that way. I certainly was. Blame and shame, and it can help with that as well. I just want you to know that you're not alone, that so many people are feeling this or feel a lot of anxiety, and I just want to assure you I'm with you. So the next thing, the second technique, so that first one is the welcoming. Allow that emotion, allow it in, welcome it, just sit with it, just sort of be the observer of it and see what happens. The second thing that I do is I write for 15 minutes. And this is enormously helpful, and it helps so fast. And when you start to do it, you might think, oh, it's not going to help. It doesn't help. I'm not feeling any different. Just keep writing. I started doing this after studying Esther Hicks' book, Ask and It Is Given. It's not exactly journaling. It's sort of like journaling, but it's a technique that combines journaling with moving the negative feeling to a higher feeling. It's going for relief in that writing. So here's how it goes. I will start like this morning, like I did this morning. I feel horrible. My life sucks. I can't stand this feeling anymore. And that's what I wrote. Now, we're going to soften that statement a little bit by searching our mind for a thought that's a little bit softer and feels a little bit better. So it might be something like, I really don't like this feeling. I don't know what to do about it. But maybe something good can happen in my life. Then you ask yourself if that made you feel any relief. And you might say, nope, no relief there. So then you try that statement again or another statement, and you mull it around in your mind until you just feel a little bit relief. Sometimes, oddly enough, I feel better when just finding an answer, like, well, maybe I could have done that better. Maybe it was me in a situation. Maybe I could have said that better. Now, I'm not saying take blame for what happened or the situation, and I don't know what your situation is, but so we're just going to reach for that feeling that is just a little bit better. You could say, There are probably plenty of people who feel the way I feel and they've gotten through it, and maybe I can too. And so sit with that and see how that feels. I promise you that within 15 minutes of doing this, I mean, like with real effort, doing this, you will feel better. I mean, this is just to get you some quick relief. What other statement? You could say, yeah, that situation really sucks, but you know what? That person that did that thing, they're just human. They're just trying to do the best they can. They don't know any better. If they knew better, they'd do better. Or if I knew better, I would have done better, or something like that. And then sit with that and see how that feels, and just keep on going. The object is to reach for the feeling of relief, that which gives you relief. All right, here's one. It will work, and you might hate this in the beginning, but this is number 3. Send love. Yikes. Yep, send 10 people love right now, in the morning, if that's probably the best time. It doesn't matter if you love them or you hate them. It doesn't matter. You know, it's not that what people often talk about, gratitude or finding things that you really like about that other person or situation. You might not be able to find anything that you like about that situation or those people or that person. If you're like me, you know, I still feel a little bit of anger or sadness over being scapegoated or blamed for things that I didn't do, or things taken out of context. And you might be thinking, well, being betrayed by people or scapegoated or other people have nothing to do with my situation, or why I don't feel good at this moment. Well, hang in there with me, just a little bit. It's widely suggested that love heals all. So you might not be able to love someone else. You might not be able to find that place in your heart for someone else, but you can send them a heart. Or if it isn't a person, it could be an animal or a situation. You don't necessarily need to find something that you love about them, but I found just in my mind, sending a heart to them. And that's all you have to do. And do that with 10 people, because remember, what goes around comes around. What love we give out, that love comes back in some other form, or some form. It might come back from the person you sent a heart to, but it might not. It might come from a neighbor that does something really nice for you, or it might come in a great job opportunity, right? New job opportunity, or something like that. So you don't necessarily have to feel good about that situation. Just try to send it a heart. Do that for 10 people. Find 10 people, make a list of 10 people, and anybody, or 10 dogs or cats or your horse. Just send out love, and that love is going to come back, you know, to us in some way. So, and in the meantime, you're going to feel better. So, I promise. And, you know, I just wanted to mention that I think it was, it is, in A Course in Miracles, it says, what you give to yourself, because we're all, you know, of one source, right? So, okay, and here's one that is, boy, if you can do this, you will feel better, is tell a new story. Tell a brand new story. That monkey mind just keeps going and going and revisiting all those things that we think are so awful. So something needs to stop it, to stop that negative momentum and get that momentum going in a different direction. We can do it so much so that we even forget about what it was that was bothering us. Maybe not. I don't know your circumstances, but it could be. It has been for me. So first, we need to understand that a belief is just a thought we keep thinking, and we keep thinking it long enough that evidence starts to show up to support that belief, that negative belief. It might be a belief that, oh gosh, I don't even want to make anything up, but it might be a negative belief about ourselves. And then our subconscious mind starts looking for things to support that belief. It might be a positive belief, maybe, I'll leave it at that. So a belief is just something we keep thinking, and then things show up to support that belief, and you say, see, I knew it, right? Those thoughts, those negative thoughts will continue to haunt us. And if we don't do something to change the trajectory of that, those stories are gonna just keep going. So we're gonna write a new story. And we're gonna write it with a pen, I don't have a pen, and a piece of paper, because it really, you can use a keyboard, but I really recommend a pen and a piece of paper. And you start that story like, this is so bad, I feel horrible, I don't see a way out. Then we make up a new story. Like you were writing a script, a screenplay. As Rhonda Byrne says, go for an Oscar. You're gonna make up your life the way you want it to be, the way you see it. Because if we don't have a dream for ourselves, if we can't even know where we're headed or what's possible for us, we're gonna stay right where we are, right? So you are the main character and of this story that you're writing. And I wrote, I guess this was a couple of weeks ago, like 3, 4, 5, oh no, it's more like 5 pages, handwritten pages of this new story. It was so good, and it made me feel so good that I read it the next morning. And the next morning, it just felt so good to read it. And remember, this is just to give you some relief. It can be more than that. These techniques can be used for more, but I promise you're going to feel better. If you do this and you dream big and you put this down, you'll start to see possibilities for yourself. No longer like this morning when I was feeling so old. My life, should I just succumb to the circumstances I don't like or prefer right now because I'm too old to make any changes? Can it really get better? Yes, it can. Start with 20 minutes, just 20 minutes. I promise. You'll feel better, right? Be outrageous. Who cares? No one's going to read it. Only you will read it. Be outrageous. Think of all the things in your life that you'd like to see just a little bit different, or just make it up. Make up that story. It feels good. I promise it does feel good. So I want you to know that things can change. Things can be different. And miracles can happen. They really can. We say awful things to ourselves, these awful beliefs that just aren't true, like, well, money doesn't grow on trees. It actually does. It actually comes from trees. So we have to stop saying these ridiculous things. Anything can happen. It doesn't matter how your neighbors are living their lives. Your life can be different, and my life can be different as well. And so I think we just have to be willing to see things differently, to entertain new ideas, not be closed off, to the new ideas. And please, just if you can, do something for yourself, whether you feel like taking a walk or not, or whether you feel like doing these techniques or not, or just going to a park and sitting. Just do it. or go to a coffee shop and do that. If that feels better to you, you could go to a coffee shop. And I just want to add one more thing, is to maybe, I suggest, avoiding telling too many people, especially those who enjoy commiserating with you. It's not helpful. It might make you feel better for a few minutes, but as soon as you get off the phone or the conversation ends, you're going to go back to feeling not so good. So if you do tell someone, make sure it's someone who will listen to you carefully, and then be open to a solution, to finding something. And so that person needs to be someone who can uplift you as well, you know, that in a sincere way, you know, not, you don't want to hear those false, you know, statements, but something really real, and just be open to seeing things from another perspective. From my heart to yours, I send you a heart. Knowing that all things can change, all things will. Relief is on the way. Mwah.